Hello Selva Prakash, today we're delving into the concept of nested if-else statements, a fundamental structure used in programming to make complex decisions based on numerous conditions. This construct is common across many programming languages including Python and Java. The essence of how we use these statements remains consistent. We evaluate conditions and decide the flow of execution. However, the syntax has its nuances across different languages. Now, let's talk about how nested if-else statements look in Python. Here is an example. We start with an initial if condition, like, if condition 1. If this evaluates to true, we then check another condition within it, if condition 2. If both conditions are true, we execute the code nested inside the second if statement. But what if condition 2 is false? Well, that's where the else statement right after it comes into play. This is for the case when the first condition holds but not the second one. And finally, if none of the initial conditions are met, Python executes the code after the top-level else. It's like a decision tree, where each branch represents a condition leading to different outcomes. Comparatively, in Java, we see a similar structure, but with a couple of subtle differences in syntax. The fundamental use of if, else if, and else remains the same as in Python. Observe, we start with, if, condition 1, notice the parentheses and lack of a colon, which is typical in Java. The nesting works the same way. Another, if, condition 2, is placed inside. However, unlike Python, which uses indentation to define the scope, Java uses curly braces to wrap the blocks of code associated with each condition. Then, following the Java conventions, we have else statements that align with the logic of Python's else, determining what happens when certain conditions are not met. These braces are perhaps like a fenced-off area in a garden, clearly marking where a section begins and ends, ensuring there is no confusion between the different parts. When writing nested if-else statements in Python, there are some crucial points to keep in mind. Readability is key. Too many nested statements can turn your code into a spaghetti bowl. It's important to limit the depth and perhaps break things out into separate functions if necessary. The indentation signifies the start and end of these conditional blocks instead of braces. Remember, each conditional statement concludes with a colon. Python simplifies with the elif keyword, serving as the else if that you might be more accustomed to in Java. Logical operators are also more verbal, and, or, not, instead of the symbolic, and, commonly used in Java. A nice feature in Python is that you can chain comparisons, streamlining the syntax for expressing complex relationships. These points together make Python particularly focused on readability and simplicity, often at the cost of verbose code when coming from a Java background. As a seasoned Java developer, picking up Python's syntax should be quite straightforward. While the syntax is different, the underlying concepts that you're already familiar with, decision-making and flow control in programming, remain the same. Venturing into Python territory will primarily involve learning its rules for readability and structure, much like understanding the local customs and language when you visit a new country. But rest assured, the logic is a universal language.